This works? All right. Cool. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Before I introduce myself, I think I should address all of you. I think it's really awesome that all of you are still here now on a Sunday evening. So thank you very much for staying and for coming to this talk. Thank you. And so maybe there are some of you here who are new to Python. You're just learning it, or maybe you're using it as a hobby. Welcome. I made this talk for the beginners. It will be beginner friendly. There will be some code, but it will not be too complicated. And I know some of us are polyglots. We work with more than one programming language. So I think you all should be able to get this. So you'll be the ones who get the most out of this talk. What I want to do today is to introduce to you one of the newest features of the language. And not only that, I want to tell you the backstory of it, like how it came to be. So I think it's important to know how things got made. So you'll get a glimpse of what Python core development is like. If you're not so new, you think you've been working with Python for a while, it's fine. You'll still learn something. Maybe you only know about one PEP, PEP 8. You've probably memorized it by heart. Maybe you thought there's maybe 8 PEPs, 1 to 8. There is PEP 0, by the way. So by the end of this talk, you'll know how many PEPs there are, and you'll be more familiar with a dozen more other PEPs. Now, if you run Python -- version on your computer, and the result is anything less than 3.6, stay. So for some reason you have not upgraded yet, and maybe you're still on the fence. That's great. This is the talk. This is the talk. By the end of this talk, you're not gonna want to wait. You're going to want to upgrade the Python in your computer right away. But it is Sunday. Go home after this. Do it tomorrow morning. Right? Yeah, who am I? I think this question has gotten difficult to answer lately. I think I'm really busy. That's what I am. I moved to Canada a long time ago, before Googling move to Canada was a thing. There was no Google at the time. Since my last name is difficult to pronounce, people still got my first name wrong, so just know me by my first name, Mariatta. I'm on Twitter, I'm on GitHub, and I live in Vancouver. I help organize Vancouver PyLadies, and I'm also organizing a conference called PyCascades. It's coming in January 2018. So if you enjoy this experience, you can relive all of that in Vancouver. And I have a day job. I do work as software engineer at Sony Pictures Imageworks. So we make movies. So you can find my name on IMDb. Like if you look up Mariatta, it says known for Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't know, the Emoji Movie. On top of all of that, somehow, I have time to contribute to open source. So I started contributing to Python last year, and early this year I was granted the commit privilege, so I guess now I'm a Python core developer. But I'm the newbiest of them all. I'm new, I'm still making mistakes, still learning. And in fact, that was me. For the longest time, I really thought there is only one PEP 8, and I don't have good relationship with it. It's that thing that stands between my code and production. Like I avoid it. And then I started getting involved with Python. I went to the mailing list, and the other core developers are talking about their new PEP. Like, what are you talking about? You're writing a new style guide for Python? Okay, so I need to understand what is a PEP? It stands for Python Enhancement Proposal. So it's a document, design document you need to write to provide information to the community, to describe major new feature for Python. So if you had a great idea of how Python can be better, you might need to write one of these things. And there is a PEP that describes what a PEP is, a meta PEP. So PEP 1 tells you the purpose and guideline of how you get started, what the workflow is, how it will get reviewed, and what belongs in a successful PEP. So definitely worth reading. The workflow goes like this. If you thought of something, you will write to Python ideas mailing list. You'll say, hey you all, I thought of something. I think Python should be able to do blah. Now, if people are interested, it got lots of attention, got lots of traction. At some point, maybe one of the core developers will say, you know what, there's a lot of material here, it's big, maybe it's now time for you to write a PEP. Use this number, write up the PEP. So you will use PEP 12 as the template for it, and it will be a restructured text document, so you'll need to know how to write in REST. Once you're ready, you've written that document, you'll then ask Python's BDFL for his approval. Like you'll say, Guido, my PEP is now ready for a pronouncement. What do you think? Are you going to accept it or reject it? So he could study it and then come back and say, I'm sorry, but I'm going to reject this PEP. And he will provide the reason why. So it means maybe there is problems with it, and you will record his response so that if another person came along and have a similar idea, they know they need to first address all these problems. Or he'll come back and say, congratulations, I'm accepting this PEP. That's great. So, as of today, there are 450 PEPs, and many of them were rejected, so we can't accept everything. Sometimes we do have to say no. Do you know what it means for a PEP to be accepted? Changing your life, not just me. Not just the core developers, not just the person who wrote the PEP, not just Guido's life, because everybody, he's the first point of contact whenever people have questions of Python. All of you will be affected. Your coworkers, all 7 million users will be affected when Guido decides to accept that PEP. Not just programmers. If you wrote books about Python, now you're gonna print a second edition. If you teach Python in school, now there is a new lesson you need to give. Just when you thought you know everything about Python, they put this new thing in. So, it's a big deal. So now let me tell you a story about one such PEP, PEP 498. Started 2 years ago. There is an email sent to Python Ideas by Mike Miller titled River String Format. He said, have long wished Python could format string easily, like Bash or Perl do. And then it hit me. He provided this code, and then he go on and said, I've seen others make similar suggestions, but to my knowledge, they didn't include this pleasing brevity aspect. I'll share the three very first reactions to this. First one, from Eric Smith, a Python core developer, he said, what would this do? It's not clear from your email, like, explain yourself. So he was curious. The next one comes really shortly after that. While I'm sympathetic to this idea, -1. All right, I guess people has opinions. That's fine. The next one, core developer, has very different opinion about this. He said, it's syntactic sugar. Don't even need to modify string literal. +1. So 3 first reactions, very different. And it became a hot topic that day. There were like 60 replies within 24 hours. People started discussing, designing how this should be done. And within a day, this turned from just an idea, like I wish Python could do this, to something that there's enough there for someone to be writing a PEP. This is now PEPable. So this got Guido's attention. Now that there is enough for a PEP, he just needs someone to write it. Someone who he knows, who he trusts, someone who can see through its completion, who can commit to the long-term maintenance of it. And in like one short day, he was able to identify the person who he thinks should be writing this PEP. So he said, Eric, you're addressing all my concerns, and you're going exactly where I want this to go. Please write up a PEP for us. Eric said, well, thank you, Guido, but I'm kind of busy. So, but I will find time, maybe in the weekend. So we waited. A few weeks later, he came back with a PEP. He wrote to Python dev and say, hey, friend, I started a new PEP called literal string formatting, and I have a fully working implementation. I'm open to any suggestions, give it a read, and I'm open to better title than literal string formatting. All right, so people read it, and everybody got opinion, feedback. There were some typos, fine. They did change the title, so now it's called literal string interpolation. And he kept working on it, and finally, like a month since he first drafted it, he said, this is now ready for a pronouncement. What do you think, Guido? And at the time, most people was mostly enthusiastic about this. There were still a few people who were opposing to the idea. Like one person gave a vote of -1,000. He said, no. But it really didn't take long for Guido to decide. Like just 2 days later, he said, yes, this is accepted, put it in. So this is what was the whole reason of why PEP 498. The rationale is the existing ways of formatting strings are error-prone, inflexible, or cumbersome. What do you mean? So let's take a look how you used to format strings since the very beginning. Like this was an example, like hello world. There is %s there. You look at the code, you don't know what hello %s, what does it mean? And then you realize, oh yes, it means you're going to print a name, I guess. So that was fine, but what if you have more than one argument? Like how do you format it? Like just put a comma and then the other variable? This didn't work. And this bothered me since day one that I learned Python. Like all of a sudden, the syntax has to change. Now you need to put comma. So it wasn't obvious you need to do this. It's strange. So it's not ideal. Don't use %s, don't use this. So they tried to improve this. There's another PEP, 3101, that introduced stir format. So this is how it looked like. There are now curly braces, and there is a new format method. You pass in your parameters. Now at least your string looks clearer, whereas you read the string from left to right, hello name, your age, you understand what it's trying to be printed. But it's long. It's really long, and you're typing this variable multiple times in the same line. It's cumbersome, it's not good. That's where PEP 498 came. It introduced something new, yet another way of formatting strings. We'll call it F strings. So here's how. Remember the example from the string format? So from the dot format all the way till the end, take that off. Isn't it fun? All that long line of code, take that off. Put an F in front. That's it. That's an F string. This is all there is to it. You put an F in front of your string. This is what came out of PEP 498. Should we review it one more time? So this is %s with string format, a little long. With F strings, it's just so much shorter, briefer, readable. So in an F string, some of the terminologies you should be aware of, things inside the curly braces, they're called expression, and everything outside is called literal. It's possible for an F string to not have any expression, so as long as it starts with an F, it's still considered an F string. And you can use lowercase, uppercase F, quotes, single quotes, triple quotes, that works. You can combine it with raw strings to make raw F strings. So if you're not familiar with raw strings, here's a little refresher about it. So in Python, the backslash is considered the escape character. So for example, if you want to type in a new line, you will do \n. So here's another example. You have a code like this, \u, blah, blah, blah. It will print out a smiley face emoji, but maybe you don't really want to print that out. So you can do, you put an R in front, it becomes a raw string, so there will be no ASCII processing, things just printed as is. With F strings, it's the same. You have an F string, that's the result. Now you don't want it to be, you don't want to have ASCII processing there, so just F and R, and F string as usual, that's the result. And you can use any permutation of F and R and F works, uppercase, lowercase, single quote, triple quotes, it's fine. But you cannot combine F strings with byte literal strings, so no combination of F and B. You cannot combine Unicode strings with F strings, so no combination of F and U together. So here's some other fun things you can do. Not only you can pass in variables, you can call methods like this, pass it to a function. You can pass in format specifiers. So here's an example to demonstrate the difference of how you used to format numbers. And now with F strings, so basically inside the curly braces, the variable, colon, and format specifier. Here's a little more example to it. You can do date formatting, indenting your text, doing number signs. It's a lot of fun things that you can do in this little code. Things just got simpler. You can't, however, use it in docstrings. And I really don't know why you ever want to do this, but this was asked several times. This was not part of the PEP. We didn't think about it when we wrote the PEP, but then once PEP 498 was said and done, people start asking, can I use it in docstrings? Why? And we closed it at that time, and sometime later another person came. Can we use f-strings in docstrings? No. So at that time, we wrote the code to disallow it, and then now it is documented. You cannot do this, even when the f-string does not contain any expressions. Here's a ticket that came. It came last December, I believe. When I saw it, I was new to f-strings. I didn't know, I thought this was really a problem. He said, he opened a ticket and he had an example of 3 lines of strings, and he said only the first line was properly formatted and the other ones are not. And it caught me off guard. I thought, wow, there's this problem here. But turns out, as you read it closely, these are actually 3 different strings. He's trying to concatenate 3 different strings, but he only put f in the first one. So the solution is just to make sure you add f in your f strings. So I still make this mistake sometimes, forgetting the f in the strings that I meant to be an f string. So now I just start everything with f. If you're looking for ways to help contribute to Python, this ticket is still open. It's requested by one of our core developers. Raymond Hettinger opened this ticket. Nobody is really working on it yet, so he thinks IDLE should have better support for f-strings, better syntax highlighting. It's just going to be a really, really big project. It's not easy, it's not straightforward, so if you want to help out, you're up for a challenge, comment on this ticket and let us know you're interested or you have ideas on how to do it. Finding the documentation was tricky. Ever since it was out until Python 3.6.2, you cannot search for it. You put f-string in Python docs, nothing show up. Now we're in Python 3.6.3. You put f-string there and there are 170 results. They're not the documentation for f-strings. So searching does not work. So here's how you find it. The keyword you need to look for is formatted string literal. That's the title of where f-string documentation resides. So it's not under f-string. Or you can go to the docs and you can go to the glossary section. There is an entry to f-string that describes what f-string is. There's a link to the documentation from there. Or if you want to bookmark this link, it'll work until we have Python 4, I guess. What about the performance? I did this little experiment in my computer. So that's to compare the different performances between the different ways to format strings. This is with %s. Same way, just with string format. That's f-string. The smaller the number means it's faster. So f-string is faster, it's easier to write, more readable. Use it, don't use %s. I don't want to see that in any code ever again. Change your code base from %s to something else, use string format even, or f-strings. So that's the story of PEP 498. And I know now you're really excited, you want to use f-strings. Good news, you can safely try this at home. all you need is Python 3.6. And if you don't have it yet in your computer, you can download it, python.org, and it's completely free. Don't need to give me your credit card. Don't need to give email address. You won't get spam. Don't worry. You didn't have to write any PEP. You didn't have to read hundreds of mailing list emails. You didn't need to try to convince Guido about this, because Eric Smith did that. You could just start, take it and use it. But I know even after all this, there are some of you who's still not going to do it. Right? You're not going to mess with your computer just for F strings. That's not going to work. Or maybe you will, but you're really going to have a hard time convincing your boss about it. Your clients, your users, your customers, they're not gonna care. They're not going to want to upgrade their machine just so you can write with F strings. They don't care. That's really not how you should look at this. You're not upgrading to Python 3.6 because of F strings, but because in addition to PEP 498, there are 15 other PEP. You know what? I've just told you what a PEP is, what it represents. Life-changing, things that makes Python better. You now know what it took to put one in, and there are 15 others just like that. These are the things that make Python faster, more secure, better than ever before. All the things you've always wanted, like async I/O, type annotations, local time disambiguation. Now, I know I've been surprising you with all of these PEPs you never heard about. I have another bomb to drop. It's not just 16 PEPs. There are 17. We now have math.tau. The PEP for this was from 2011. Now finally, we have it. So I know now you're definitely going to upgrade. Not tonight, tomorrow. Because with Python 3.6, you can start writing, building better software. Just stop asking me why Python 3. I don't want to hear this. Way past that. The question now is how. What's your plan? When are you going to do it? You're going to start thinking about that, not tonight, tomorrow. All right? Thank you all.